You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you, dropping in off the cuff for another edition for Grant McCaslin and the Red Raiders in the form of Donovan Atwell. And want to get into this fit for Texas Tech. Looks like you're adding some threat from the perimeter as far as shooting is concerned, which is obviously something we wanted to see continue and have already had a dose of this going back over last week. And then I want to get to some other dominoes, maybe still possible to fall as a result of these additions, Lawan Watts and Donovan Atwell, since the weekend. We will get to Lawan Watts on tomorrow's episode. But as for introducing us to Mr. Atwell, Chris, how do you feel like this came together? And what do you feel like Atwell brings to the table that could be similar, maybe to some things we saw last year, or different from what we saw a season ago?
Yeah, well, he's a lefty. I think he's right around 40% from three. He's a two guard. I think is his natural position, kind of I guess combo, but I think more of a 2 and 3 versus a 1 or a 2 in the basketball sense. But I think again efficient and somebody that they kind of had identified. I don't know, week and a half ago. This is, not surprising news that you have added this player. I think it's all kind of trended that direction for quite a while, and he's a third team all conference guy. He's again somebody that's efficient, and he's got some length to him. He's going to be in the 6'4", 6'5" range with long arms and a slasher and a good cutter and a mover away from the basketball and things like that. And he can shoot it. I think he can handle the ball in a pinch. I don't know that's his primary skill set, but certainly can break you down off the dribble and do some different things. And obviously, as we mentioned, the 3-point shooting is a great percentage. So this is, as we were kind of putting the roster together the other day on various pieces, this is going to be, in your Chance McMillan, Kerwin Walton, Kevin Overton range, if you're comparing these pieces to what last year's team was. And I can't tell you yet, is he more Chance? Is he more Overton? Is he more Kerwin? But that's kind of what he's a 2 and a 3, is what I would envision him playing for you, and somebody that's got some length. And I think because you've now kept a guard in Christian Anderson, and you've added 2, in Tyree Bryan and Donovan Atwell, you've added 2, small forwards, combo guards, 2 guards, whatever around him, and then added a guy like Lawan Watts, who we'll get into much more tomorrow in that show and kind of talk about him at length, to kind of fill the small forward spot primarily, that can be spun up to a power forward, or even play the 5 in a small he could play the 5 in a, if you want to go small. Big, small, all that stuff. There's lots of jargon there. But this is somebody that I think that they were very interested in, and they've identified, and I think they feel like it's a really good fit. And I think he's a really good defender too. But I think the shooting and the efficiency and length and all those things, he's a 1-year guy, I believe. And he's already played 3 years, just finished up his junior season. So he's gotten better a bit every year out of UNC Greensboro. But yeah, he was here over the weekend, and right now you're 2 for 2 on visits over the weekend. And Tyree Bryan had committed and signed, I think, and done all that stuff sight unseen. And then he obviously made the visit, I believe, this weekend as well. So
pretty good hit rate. Mr. Atwell stands at 6'5". Is it too early to tell if we're talking starter, reserve? Is there an intention with a player like this coming into it?
Yeah, I don't know if you're. I mean, possibly, probably, but I don't know. I don't know where that lands just yet. I would say with like an Atwell and a Bryan, for sure one of them start, but I do think, but yeah, I mean, because that just creates a variety of different questions and conversations to get into. You to me, because there's two things that it makes me ask aloud here as it relates to the answer to your question. You still need, to me, another primary ball handler. And is that person somebody that's a backup, or is that somebody that would, like in the Elijah Hawkins, mind, would that individual start? Would that be somebody you're playing, Christian next to, or so I mean, are they trying to build it like last year's deal where you had Elijah and Christian can run it at times, but it was really Elijah's baby to run on a largely full-time basis. And then the other thing too is, like, as it relates to bench player or starter or whatever, is like, where does Kevin Overton factor into this deal? Because these players, Tyree Bryan and Kevin Overton, are very similar. I mean, and Atwell, they're very similar to Overton, and so have you replaced him? Is this okay? Because I still don't know. Even if you say Overton, Bryan, and Atwell, I still think you need another primary ball handler. Like, I don't think you're. That's the reason that we had heard the discussion of Isaiah Pasha from Delaware.
First, today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it can be easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and our code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
That's the reason that we had heard the discussion of Isaiah Pasha from Delaware, which I think that you're going to go a different direction there. I don't know what that means exactly, but you're going to go in a different direction. And I think that you may still be on the lookout for, again, a primary ball handler. But Atwell and Bryan are, again, they're similar to Overton. They may be slightly taller. They may be as good or better, or I don't know what Grant and Linder and AC and everybody internally, what their view of that would be. But and maybe you want all parties, but it's not going to surprise me if, like, somebody like Overton is like, man, I thought I was going to get major minutes here. I don't know if that is indeed the case now, and so I'm going to go try to find my minutes elsewhere. I don't know where that was, but that wouldn't shock me a bit.
Okay, and I think that's probably the most interesting domino I'm thinking about, is Overton at this point, because we talked about it on the mailbag. Like, it's kind of been quiet beyond, say, Darion Williams, and we've seen since Yalejo get into the portal, but that story already seemed written. And I think we get a lot of questions about.
And I think EY is seeking more playing time, and that's I think, as we had tried to lay out, I think in some ways he's very valuable to you in the sense that, man, if he's going to be here and not rock the boat and be okay with getting, being like the 8th, 9th, 10th guy on a roster that can fill in a pinch and is going to be a good soldier, which he had been, then I think that's of some serious value to you, because you can't feed everybody. You get 13 scholarships. You just realistically can't feed anything more than 9 to 10 guys. And even when you get into the 9th and 10th, that's still a bit tricky. It does provide you insurance and all those things, but there obviously we saw there were times last year when you had an 8-man rotation and, boy, it felt razor thin at times, and you wish there was a 9th. And so maybe Overton is still in the plans, but it's not going to surprise me if he is seeking employment elsewhere because of just wanting to start, or wants a bigger role and that can't be offered to him here. I don't know. That's up to, but I think it's a very interesting question to pose. And I still maintain, and I don't think that could be Jazz Henderson. I wouldn't just totally rule it out, but you need another primary ball handler to me. Yeah. If you want to be the best version of what this team could be. And that's what you kind of thought it was trending toward Pasha. But I gather that Texas Tech is either doing one of two things. They either are going a different direction there, i.e. there's another target, or they found some things out that just weren't jiving, and they were like, hey, we're gonna do something different here. And so I think that they kind of backed away from Pasha visiting and all that because he had canceled Gonzaga visit. And so he may now go to Penn State, which was the other of his 3 finalists. So I don't know. We'll see. But it feels like, Cal, we still got a long way to go here on trying to put this thing together.
You've had some big additions, and it started with 2 returners, but there are still some numbers to figure out and some spots like you're talking about with another primary ball handler that you got to address. Here's you've got your 5 pieces, but what you need is the biggest one and the smallest one. In theory, you need a primary ball handler, and then you still need a true big, maybe 2. And I'm not opposed to you having a second primary ball handler either. But, Is that an unnamed guard out there? Is that Jazz Henderson? Is that Federico? Is that an unnamed big out there? Is there another player that you kind of add to this thing that kind of fits in the in between? Because, see, Leon Horner can be a serviceable defensive rotational player. I just think if you put Leon Horner in the game and you continue to develop him, because he's real tight with Christian Anderson, I think if you're going to ask him to score and do a lot of things, I don't know if he's cast best in that role, but he can certainly provide some minutes there at the 2 and the 3 and different things. So anyway, that's kind of where as I see it, where you still need to go. Okay. But I'm sure they know way more than I do over there, and that's why they get paid what they do. And you and I are just we're just like, please subscribe to this podcast and listen. Please right. Subscribe. Yeah, that's right. Alms for the podcast host. I would guess they have a plan for the next steps and the next spots to be attacked, and we'll wait and see what happens. But with all this knowledge now, it's definitely worth it. All you guys panicking and freaking out. Good call, right? Bet you are looking back at that thinking, yeah, that was totally the right move. So congratulations, pat yourself on the back. Like 18 to 22-year-olds through the hourglass, these are the days of our portal lives. And I bet we revisit the subject coming up on the next episode, because I do want to carve out a little more time for Lawan Watts, who you described at the end of last week as target number 1, for whatever that's worth, as we saw the hot board. That was part of our OT mailbag conversation. He's now a Red Raider, so we'll get into that fit and a few more things as far as what's happening across the nation as it relates to the Red Raiders. And it ain't Rome all roads are leading to at this point in time. Apparently, it's the hub city. You just get inserted here or there, whether you're here or there or not. We'll get more into that on tomorrow's episode. So, Chris, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one. We'll see you then.
Because until we reconvene for the next time, what I'm really wondering is how much money do you have left to spend? That really may tell you the answer to kind of what you still need or what you want to go get or whatever with rev share or front. Well,
also, Chris, which player is out there to have it spent on? Because
exactly, yeah,
it ain't exactly a hard cap.
No, this is true.
Right, guy shows up, right?
This is true. This is true. But that's where the truth lies on kind of where things are. And does that include Darion Williams or does it not? So anywho, enjoy the rest of the weekend, people. We will reconvene bright and early in the morning and just continue with writing the chapters in this lovely book of ours is called Locked On Texas Tech and Red Raider Athletics. So anyway, there you go.
Heads on swivels. That remains the status. I don't know if it ever changes. 365 days a year. There is no off season. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks to the Everydayers for always being out there, and appreciate the Matador Mob as well. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you'd like to join that crew. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with a one-on-one text and straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.